Okay, Supliful, what's the catch, right? That's the million-dollar question. I know a lot of you have been asking me, Brian, like, what are your thoughts on Supliful? And, for those that are starting their own supplement brand with the minimal cost possible, right? They don't want to carry inventory costs. They don't have the funds to go get their own custom formula made. Supliful sounds very, very appealing, at least on paper. They're going to handle fulfillment. They're going to slap your label on their product, and they're going to take a small transaction fee at the point of sale. So it sounds great, but what's the catch? There are vulnerabilities, there are watch-outs, at least from the point of view of a compliance expert such as myself. I've been in the supplement space for over 2 decades now, and I want to share those thoughts or that point of view with you in this video. I obviously want to do a quick overview of the Supliful model, this on-demand model. I also want to share some important disclaimers because I think it's important that you understand what my relationship to Supliful is so that you have the right context with regards to my feedback. I do also want to talk about why I think Supliful is right for the right client and what does that ideal client look like. And then lastly, we get to hear from Martin Lesmanis, the CEO himself, has done a special video just for you, just for us, this audience on this channel, to talk more about the Supliful vision, their mission, where does compliance fit into all of this. So I think it's going to be really cool to hear from him as well. So with all that said, we got lots of ground to cover. Let's get to it. Now, if this is your first time here, my name is Brian, and it's great to meet you. I've been in the supplement space for over 2 decades now, specializing in regulatory affairs and quality assurance, and I help supplement brands grow their business by navigating FDA and FTC requirements. And if you want to work with me directly, links are down in the description down below. Okay, let's talk about Supliful, and I think it's important for me to just really quickly share the disclaimer here, right? There's a couple. The first one is that I have not used Supliful myself. I don't have my own line of supplements. We specialize in regulatory affairs and compliance. So we're not the ones that are telling people how to sell their supplements. We're looking at how to make sure your operation is optimized for compliance. All right, so that's number one thing. Number 2 thing here is that you need to do your own due diligence. So no matter what I say today, I always recommend to my clients that you still have to operate and do your due diligence and make sure that these guys are the right partner for you. You understand the risks before you pull the trigger. All right, you always have to vet your supplier out. That's really important. Number 3, Supliful didn't make me do this video. They're not paying me to do this video. I'm doing this myself. And the other thing I want to keep in mind here, at least I want you to keep in mind here, is that there are a lot of videos right now about Supliful, and it's my opinion that a lot of them are just pushing out their sales affiliate link. Spoiler alert, I also have an affiliate link, but I'm coming to you from a different point of view. I'm coming to you from a compliance experience and expertise and what some of the watchouts and vulnerabilities there are as a result of using this on-demand model. And if you find this video helpful today, it'd mean a lot to me if you use our affiliate link. There's no cost to you. It would greatly support the channel. All right, disclaimers out of the way. Let's get to Supliful. So in terms of how the Supliful model works, so essentially, there's going to be inventory at the warehouse. It's sitting there right now unlabeled. It's already made. It's just sitting at the warehouse. Now, you're going to have your own website, right, with your own fancy logos and branding, and you're going to have your supplement in your website store. If someone were to come along, Brian comes along, clicks add to cart, and checks out, and I buy your supplement, it's going to be triggered through the Supliful system. And it's going to notify the warehouse to grab that bottle from the warehouse shelf and slap your branded label on this white unlabeled bottle, essentially. And the warehouse is going to ship it to the customer. And then Supliful, because they're seeing all this transaction go through, they're going to take a production fee out of your retail price cost. And that's how they make money. That's how Supliful makes money. And then whatever remains, in terms of the net difference, that's yours to keep. All right. So you don't have to carry any inventory. You don't have to worry about fulfilling or shipping the orders. They're handling all of that for you. And here they give you a simple cost structure of how this whole model works. Someone buys your branded supplement from your website, and let's just say the retail price is $30 minus the Supliful production fee of $12, and that's the cost of the inventory itself, plus any sort of fee from Supliful and the shipping fees. And whatever remains is what they call your profit. I would argue it's not really your profit. It's the margin left over is yours. And the reason why I say it's not really your profit is because chances are your business is going to have other expenses, right? Out of this $18 remaining, maybe you're spending stuff on ads, boosting social media posts. Maybe you hired an employee. Maybe you've got someone that's handling your website, your social media account, maybe insurance costs, right? The costs of your website, right? There's other operational costs. So it's not truly your profit. And so the first thing to keep in mind is that reality, and maybe it might tell you, if you really build out your costs for your operation and the cost of goods, you might realize pretty quickly that you might need to bump up your retail price. But it's something to think about as an exercise for you before you start on this venture with Supliful, or just your venture of starting your own supplement brand. I think it's really important for you to nail down your retail price properly. So this is their product catalog. They have a wide variety of products here: 5-HTP, whey protein isolate, and essentially you can pick and choose. And you can click on here, you can see what their supplement facts looks like, so their ingredients, where the product is made, in the USA. And they do give some details about some of the claims. We're going to talk more about the claims in a bit, because I think that's one of the biggest watchouts for the supplement startup brand. We'll dive more into that, but right now I'm just trying to show you the catalog here, which I think is really important. So let's talk about the first watchout here. And I do want to stress it's not necessarily a Supliful thing. It's inherent in the on-demand model. I know there's another competitor out there, Rocktomic, and I've done a review about Rocktomic as well in the past. And if you haven't seen that, you can, I'll leave a link in the description down below. But I talked about the operation earlier. And remember, your bottle of product is already made. It's sitting in a warehouse somewhere unlabeled. We don't know how long it's been sitting out there. We also don't know how it's been tested. We have no ability to dictate how it was tested. And on top of that, there's potential for human error at the warehouse, right? There's a whole shelf of unlabeled white bottles. You don't really know what's in there. And we're trusting that the processes in place are done well enough so that the operator can choose the right bottle. They definitely know it is, for example, BCAA, not 5-HTP, and they're going to slap your label on there with the BCAA label. But things happen. And this is an inherent vulnerability in the on-demand model. This is the Supliful issue per se. This is just an in-demand model issue or a stock formula issue. And I talk about this in more details in my other video. I believe it's about lowering your supplement costs. I'll have a link in the description down below. You can watch that as well. We talk about stock formulas on demand and other ways to lower your supplement costs. But there's an inherent vulnerability here, right? We can't dictate the testing. We can't dictate, or watch or make sure that the right formula is being shipped out all the time. We don't know what the customer might be getting or might not be getting. And we have little to no direct communication with the manufacturer. If something were to happen, I'm talking to Supliful. I'm not talking to the actual manufacturer. So that's another element to it. So if there's a problem, most likely you want to talk to the manufacturer, not actually talk to Supliful. Supliful is just a middleman, right? But unfortunately, one of the costs tied to this model, this on-demand model, is that you don't have line of sight. And that could be an issue. And what's interesting is that a lot of people say, Brian, it's fine. I've had no issues to date. Well, of course you've had no issues to date. It's like me driving around in my car without a seatbelt. I've had no issues to date. What's the big deal? Same argument. Where the issue happens is when there's an accident, when something goes wrong. That's when you want all these things buttoned up. I want line of sight to the manufacturer. I want good testing because the mediocre testing wasn't enough to figure out or catch these issues to begin with. Now, again, I'm not saying that the testing is poor. I'm not saying the product is poor. I'm not saying that there's going to be warehouse issues. All I'm saying is that there are some factors we have very, very limited control. And I think this is one of the watchouts. And I think it's very important for you as an entrepreneur to think about. Because for you, depending on who you are, maybe you are a physician, you have got this huge brand recognition behind you or name recognition behind you. You can't afford that type of risk. Or maybe you're just brand new to this. You want to start it up. You want to try something new. you don't have the same risk profile, and maybe you're willing to take that risk on. So I think it's important for you to understand the inherent vulnerabilities of the on-demand model. So that's number one. Let's move on to the next. The next thing I want to talk about is label claims and labeling. Now, hopefully you're enjoying this video. And really quick, if you are interested in starting a supplement brand and you want to understand how to navigate the FDA and FTC requirements of all of it, help you find a manufacturer, you can actually work with us directly. Links in the description down below. Back to the video. Let's start with labeling in general. Now, this is not a label from Supliful. I pulled this from a different website, okay, but I'm just using this as an example. Now, this particular product is also a stock formula. It could be considered in the same boat as an on-demand situation as well. The issue here is that some of these providers of on-demand or stock formulas give you very, very little leeway in terms of how much change you can have on the label. So for example, here on the front panel, it says blood pressure support. Well, what if I don't like that? What if I don't want to put that there? What if I don't want a claim altogether? Maybe I want a different claim. In my world, I'm a compliance officer. Maybe blood pressure support isn't the right claim. When I look at the ingredients, maybe blood pressure support isn't even actually properly substantiated. The ingredients at the dosages that are in the formula, maybe it actually doesn't support blood pressure support. That has happened. I've seen stock formulas that are poorly formulated and they market it as a blood pressure support formula. But when you look at the formulas, the ingredients, and the science, it actually can't support that claim. And so maybe I want it to have a different claim. And some of these suppliers won't let you make these changes. Even if I want to remove it, super conservative. I don't even want to claim. I don't want to claim whatsoever. Even then, some of these suppliers won't even let you make that change, which is a real downer. Maybe I want to hit hard on my brand, my color scheme, my fonts, and I don't want this claim. Again, some of these suppliers are like, nope, can't do it. This is our policy. And between you and me, I think that's ridiculous. All right. You can see here how they laid it out, where they put the barcode, where they've put this contains no sugar claim on here. Maybe I want to change some of these things. Some things I understand. We can't touch because, it's coming from the manufacturer. I understand you don't want to really mess around with the supplement facts. You don't really want to mess around with the other ingredients. This contains no statement. Maybe I don't want it. Maybe I want to revise it. Maybe I don't want to talk about preservatives, but I want to talk about salt, sugar, dairy, yeast, and wheat. I should be able to change it. There's nothing from a compliance standpoint that says I can't do that. And if anything, I'm being more conservative in my claim by removing this statement altogether. I'm not making any overt promises about what this product doesn't contain. And again, some suppliers, like this on-demand model or the stock formula model, they have issues with this. And I think that's one watch out for you. I'm not talking about Supliful here per se. I'm just saying that this is something you should be concerned about, or at least it should be on your radar. Okay. And the other big one, which I alluded to earlier, is around whether or not that these ingredients at the amounts claimed here in the supplement facts, do they support the claims on the label, blood pressure support? Does it actually do that? Now, I haven't done the digging here, but it's quite possible that it doesn't. And that's where we have an issue. Right? Because we want to make sure that the formula is actually formulated to support the claim. Otherwise, what's the point of this whole exercise? So jumping back to Supliful, right? I just pulled this random product out, Alpha Energy, and we can scroll down here and you can get a sense of what the claims are. Immune boosting, supports hair and nails, supports fertility and libido, muscle support, energy boost, heart health, enhanced vitality. And I'm going to tell you, in my world, I don't trust any of this stuff. Again, I'm not poo-pooing Supliful. I'm just saying when it comes to these stock formulas, these on-demand models, I see those all the time. Even with reputable manufacturers, they have their stock formula catalogs. And I see these claims all the time, but I know the research. I've done some digging and I realized, wait a minute, when you factor in the amount of these ingredients, sometimes you can't support these claims. All right, so that's the big watch out for you. And so as a result, what's the plan B? Well, the plan B is to look at the science for these individual ingredients and look at the amounts and compare them with what the clinical trials say. And from there, come up with a claim that I am comfortable with and then putting that on the label. All right. So that's how I would do it. And I think, for you, what you're getting here from a Supliful is that you're getting well-made, made in a GMP certified facility, good customer service. That's what you're getting from Supliful. And obviously the fulfillment convenience, and that these products are already made. All right. So you don't have to deal with the long lead times. That's really, in my opinion, what you're paying for here. Even the supplement facts isn't done properly. From a formatting standpoint, there are some issues here, like the hairlines and the bars and all these things. Now, to you, you're like, what's the big deal? It's just a formatting issue. Unfortunately, there are regulations tied to this, hence my feedback here. Again, I'm not saying that Supliful is bad. I think there's still value in a Supliful. Otherwise, I wouldn't even have an affiliate link to begin with. What I'm saying is that from my point of view, there's actually more work to it than meets the eye. And one of that is around formulating the right claims, verifying that, that the formulas can support the claims that you have, and that ultimately the supplement facts that they give you will probably need some tweaking and a review from a compliance expert just to make sure everything's buttoned up. And just jumping back to the label and the claims earlier, I did confirm with Supliful that they are good with you making the changes to the labels. Just don't touch the supplement facts, just don't touch the other ingredients. But for the most part, everything else is flexible within reason. I'll talk more about this later. I do have a fairly good relationship with the team at Supliful. And, when we have the compliance aspect nailed down and they understand what we've done, they're more amenable to these changes. But overall, they are flexible, all right, which is great. So it does eliminate that issue, but it still comes back to the substantiation and making sure the supplement facts is done properly from a regulatory standpoint. There are still other elements of the label that we want to make sure are FDA compliant. But the good thing here is that you do have a lot of leeway. You want to change the brand, you want to remove this claim, you want to change it to a different claim, you want to put more of your branding, different images, font, all of these things. You want to move some of these elements around. As long as you're not touching any mandatory FDA elements of the label, we're good, which is fantastic. I'm so glad to hear that from several folks. I have done some inquiries with other on-demand or stock product formula suppliers, and they don't give you that leeway, and it's a huge turnoff. And funny enough, they gave me this spiel about FDA compliance and FDA this reason and FDA that reason, and I'm like, that's not true. And you just see a blank stare, and then they're salespeople, they're not really FDA compliance people, and then they just at the end of the day they're like, well, that's just how we do it, this is our template. And I'm like, all right, like that's fine, that's the way, it's your business, you can set the rules, but they don't make any logical sense in my opinion. Anyway, enough of that, let's move on. Now the next vulnerability or watch out for you, and again, this isn't Supliful specific, this is on-demand model specific, if you will, and that is sometimes inventory runs out. You have limited inventory control, right? The inventory is at the warehouse or it's not. And if you get a huge spike in demand due to your advertising campaign or social media campaign, and you don't have the inventory to sell, you're SOL, right? Versus a custom formula situation, you can mitigate inventory issues much better because you have direct communication with the manufacturer. You can order more inventory. You can anticipate inventory challenges. You can order raw materials. You can't do that here. You're at the mercy of whatever these guys have at their warehouse, and you might be out of stock for another 8 weeks as a result of them replenishing inventory, and you get what you get. All right. And again, depending on your model, depending on, if you've got a huge audience and you anticipate huge demand, it's something to think about here and determine whether you want to move ahead with Supliful or not. But maybe it's a non-issue. So with all this said, who do I think Supliful is for? I think there's two big buckets, in my opinion. The first one are those that may have a large audience already, and you know that if you just pitch a product, you'll probably sell it, and you want simple formulas. I think Supliful is a great way to get started in that avenue. And because you've got a large audience, you're going to make money from this. And as a result, typically the profit margins, you don't need a huge profit margin if you're a one-man band. And because you've got this huge following already, it's simpler to work off this way. And I think for those of you that already have a following, this could be a great way to get started. The other bucket, I believe, Supliful is good for are for those that just want to understand how to sell supplements, but they don't want to invest in their own custom formula yet. And you just want to tinker around and see how all this works. Your funnels, your ad spending, how to do the right ads, how will this be received by your audience? And you want to start experimenting. I think Supliful is great at doing that. So I think those are the two big buckets. Again, if you don't need a custom formula, that you're willing to take some of these risks here, you don't have a lot of money up front, obviously Supliful will be a good fit for you. And remember, you're not locked in, right? Like you can play with Supliful, understand the business, understand the model, understand how to get people to your website, and then you start seeing sales lift, right? And once that happens, you have the margin and the profits now saved up. You've got the capital now to move over to a custom formula. Like you're not locked into Supliful forever. You can stick with them, grow with them, and then once you're ready, move into a custom formula situation. Or maybe you want to buy the same formula, but now you want better control of the testing and the manufacturing. And so you can make the same formula or a similar formula at a manufacturer that's reputable, that you trust, that you vetted. But now you have better controls of inventory, better controls of testing. A lot of the risks that we talked about inherent in the on-demand model are lowered as a result. So you're not locked in with Supliful is the key point here. And I think, with that mindset, maybe Supliful is a good way to start your business moving into the supplement side of things. Now, before we hear from the CEO directly, I do want to mention that I've had the pleasure of working with Supliful a couple years ago, helping them train up their team when it comes to compliance, understanding the FDA requirements and some of the inherent vulnerabilities here that we've touched on. They understand that. Now, at the same time, they're running a business. So you got to balance the risks of the inherent on-demand model with the realities of the operation. And so it was really great to understand their operation, get to talk to their people, get to meet them, and of course, to see that they're treating compliance seriously, which is why I do have the affiliate link, because I know they're one of the good guys out there trying to do this properly. Yes, they understand, this model has some things to watch out for, but they're doing the best that they can to make it right. And they do have a compliance person dedicated to compliance, and I've worked with her, and we've touched base a couple times over the last year or this year as well. So you can see that they're trying to do all the right things. And because of this history, I do say hello to some of the guys at the Supliful team, to their CEO, and vice versa. They do reach out once in a while, which is great to see, right? To see that relationship. And as a result, I did reach out to the CEO of Supliful, and I wanted to ask him, what separates Supliful from the competitors? What's their vision? What's their mission? And with that said, I'll kick it over to Martin.
I'm Martin, co-founder and CEO of Supliful, and it's a pleasure to be on this video. So what Supliful does and how we are different than any other players on the market is that we are enabling anyone to launch and operate their own skincare, supplement, functional food, or even pet care product with one click. It takes you just a couple of steps to set up your product, link it to your online sales channel, and start selling. When you make a sale, in the back end, the order information comes to us, and we prepare it and ship it to your end customer. And ourselves, we've been e-commerce builders for almost a decade. We bootstrapped our first e-commerce brand, and we successfully sold it in 2020. And we've been our customers. We know what type of pains they have, so we try to reduce those as much as possible. And I think that is our biggest advantage compared to anyone doing the same thing in this space. When it comes to compliance and what we're doing in regards to that is that we are taking it super seriously. We don't want to cut corners. We want to stay at the forefront of what is happening in terms of compliance. We're still operating in a bit of gray area, but that's why, with the help of Brian, we keep improving all of our compliance aspects as much as possible, because there's already stigma around supplements, around skincare and private labeling, that this is kind of in a gray area. So we need to be super transparent. How do we manufacture them so that the consumers have full understanding of the supply chain of these products. And when it comes to what we want to achieve with Supliful, our mission is to enable anyone to launch and scale their own fully custom CPG products. And imagine that you would be able to come to Supliful, pick your ingredients, pick the form of the product delivery, pick the packaging, and do R&D of a totally unique product with very little upfront investment. We would provide you with tools that only the large players in this CPG space like Nestle and Unilever have. So that's our mission. In terms of what is our short-term goal, we want to really, in the next coming 2 years, enable 100 of seven-figure businesses on top of Supliful platform. And of course, to achieve that vision, we are driven by multitude of values or virtues. And one of our most critical or most important values is transparency, because we are transparent both internally as well as externally with all of our customers. And if we are all more and more honest, then I think it's to the better humanity in general. We are definitely thinking, we're also driven by scalability, making sure that we can grow fast. Design thinking is a big part of our value. And most critical aspect of how we are running Supliful is discipline, because tackling this super complex operational challenge and enabling this service requires long hours, requires never giving up on your idea, and staying disciplined and consistent over long periods of time is what brings us success. So I hope you find this insightful. Don't hesitate to reach out to me personally or to anyone at Supliful team, and we will help you to build your own dream brand in no time. Thanks.